Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's virtual education session put on by the San Diego chapter of Women in Aviation International. My name is Lily Roberts, and I am the membership chair for our chapter. And this week we have a wonderful speaker, Joanie Walker. She is a first officer at Alaska Airlines, and she is going to be sharing with us her journey in becoming an airline pilot. And the purpose of this session today is for education, but also we really want to connect, engage, and inspire and give you guys an example of a woman who has been in this career for a long time and has met challenges along the way and overcome them. And so I'm excited to listen to what she has to say. Here's just a little bit about Joanie before I hand it over to her. Joanie was born and raised in California. She graduated from Embry Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott in 1998. She worked as a flight instructor there until she was hired by SkyWest Airlines in 2000. She had a 22-year-long career at SkyWest Airlines. I actually flew with her when she was a captain. She was my captain. I worked as a first officer with her. And since 2022, she has been a first officer at Alaska Airlines. And today she lives in Livermore with her husband and their two teenage children. So go ahead, Joanie, take it away.
Okay. So that was I'm Joanie. Nice to meet you. And so that was my background, which she just said all of that. So I'm gonna go ahead to the next slide so I can start from the beginning. So when I was young, probably 5 or 6, I had the luxury of flying. My parents were immigrants, but we'd always go back to where they were from, the Azores in the middle, those are islands in the middle of the Atlantic. And it was like you take a big plane and then you get to one island and you take a small plane. So like a propeller plane, and turboprop. And it was just to me the most exciting thing ever. So I told my dad, I asked him if I could go to the cockpit, and he said, yeah. So he brought me up there and I got to see everything. Oh my God, I was just in love right away. But then someone told me that girls couldn't be pilots. So that was all it took for me to say, well, I'm going to prove them all wrong. That was it from that day. So as I got older, I kept, that dream alive, and I kept this, I had no idea how to do it. No one in my family flew, nothing, like, no pilots, no military, none of it. So I had to like kind of figure it out on my own. Well, I had this really good friend, and her mom almost became a doctor. She went to Stanford and everything. So she wanted to make sure we all knew we got to our dreams. So she asked, where do you want to go to college? And I'm like, and I was probably 15 at the time. And I'm like, I don't know. She said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be an airline pilot. And she said, let's look. So she gets out. I mean, this is a long time ago. So she gets a catalog out. Catalog, that's how long ago it was. And she takes it out and she looks up aeronautical science. And she goes, look, here's this school right here. And it was called Embry Riddle Aeronautical University. And I said, oh my gosh, so you have to, mail them a request for an application. And I did it, and I applied, and I got accepted. And I was so happy, but at the same time, I was nervous to leave my family because my dad died when I was 14 years old. So I was very attached to my sisters and my mom. And so I didn't know if I could do it. So the first year I actually stayed home for college and went to junior college, and I was not happy. So they called back that June of that year, and they said, you're still accepted if you want to come. And I said, oh yes, I really want to come. And so we figured out a way. My mom was very resourceful, had some loans, all of that. And she sent me on my way to Arizona. We never looked at the school. I'd never been there. I was just like, I have to go. So 19 years old, I went away to college at Embry Riddle and started my journey. Well, it was a little stressful being away from home. I didn't know all the process. Like, I should have researched more, and I'm going to have my kids research much more when they go to college, but I didn't really know all the process of becoming an airline pilot, a pilot at all the things you had to do. And so I found out quickly it was a lot of work. So I started there with my private pilot, rating. And so we did stage checks. So there was 3 stages to the private pilot rating there. It's a 141 school. So the first stage check, or the first stage check went well. I got to solo, and then I did the second stage check, which was a cross country. Once you pass that, you got to go do some solo cross countries. Well, I failed that stage check, and I was so upset. And it was right before Christmas break. I was so homesick, and I said, I'm not going back. I'm not doing it. My instructor couldn't try to get me to stay to redo the stage check. I said, no, I need to go home. So I went home. And I told my mom, I'm not going back. I can't do this, all these things, right? I was just so upset. And she said, well, I didn't raise any quitters. You could do whatever you want, but I didn't raise a quitter. So I said, that was it. Her reverse psychology, that's all it took. Guess what? 3 weeks later, I'm back at school. And then I just continued to get all my ratings and my degree. I ended up with a degree in aeronautical science, Bachelor of Science, with a minor in aviation safety. And I was fortunate enough to get hired as an instructor there, and I instructed for 2 years. And I learned very quickly that aviation is a small world and you help each other. So we would just, like, people were getting hired very quickly at that time. And a lot of people went to American Eagle, and a lot of people were going to SkyWest. Well, I looked at the bases and I'm like, well, I don't want to go to Puerto Rico, which is where everyone at American Eagle went at that time. And so I decided I want to try for SkyWest. Well, I applied, and they didn't like the fact that I didn't have a lot of actual instrument time, because I was in Prescott, Arizona, where actual instrument didn't happen. And if it did, it was either a snowstorm or a thunderstorm. So you couldn't really get a lot of actual. So I don't even know how many hours I had. Even with my students, we would go to San Diego to get actual for their long instrument cross countries. And then, so we do all that. And just, I maybe had 5 hours of actual. So they're like, no, we don't want you. So then again, I hit another roadblock, and I was devastated. And so I had this plan. I was going to move back to the Bay Area in California. We get a lot of actual instrument here that's not storms. And so I went to the Sierra Academy. I did an observation flight. I was like, okay, what do I have to do to get hired here? They said, well, you probably have to get a rating here. And I said, I don't, hold on. I'm sorry. 1 second. 1 second. Can you lower it? Sorry, teenagers. So I didn't know if I wanted to do that, get another rating there. I knew I was established already in Prescott, and I knew I could keep my job there and get my MEI there and continue instructing there. So, and I didn't really like their style. When I went on this observation ride, I felt like Embry Riddle had a much more cut and dry checklist. Do a flow, then do a checklist. Like you were groomed very well for the airlines at Embry Riddle. So I stayed. And somebody who had left prior to me had said that the director of standards at SkyWest was asking for people to walk in resumes. He said, do you want me to bring your resume? I said, yes, please. So he did. And I got an interview within 2 weeks. So I got my interview, and I went there. I did an interview prep on campus. We were really lucky to have that kind of service. And I got hired, and it was amazing. And once again, it was a new chapter, and went to SkyWest in the October of 2000. And I flew the Brasilia for 2 years. I got based in Fresno, California, and which was easy commute, not easy, but I could drive there. So I would stay there. I would drive back and forth a lot because I really liked being home. And then I went after 2 years to the CRJ, which is where I ended up staying on it for 16 years. That was what I first upgraded on, because in between all of this career, I found my husband in Fresno. After 5 years at SkyWest, he was a ramper there, and I found we met and we started dating, and I decided I wanted a family. So we got married rather quickly, like a year later, and we had kids very quickly, and we lived in San Francisco. Luckily, SkyWest had a base open in San Francisco, and so I took that. So I stayed as a first officer for a long time so that I could, get my schedule. And it was a small base at first. So if I had upgraded, I would have had to leave, and I didn't want to do that. So when it finally opened up to the point where I could get upgrade, I did it. And my children weren't really that old, but it was worth it to me to get the time as a captain, because I had been a first officer for 12 years, which is a long time. And so it was a really good opportunity for me to do that. So then I stayed on the CRJ for the next 10 years or 8 years. And then I switched over to the ERJ because I figured at some point I wanted to get hired at a major. And I knew that if they looked at me, they wouldn't really see someone trying to get to learn new things. And I was older. And so I did that and I loved it. And that's where I flew with Lily on the ERJ. And it was probably my favorite plane of all the three at SkyWest. But it was a tough road, you know, having young kids and trying to have this airline career was hard. So that's why I stayed there for so long. Like a lot of people will ask me that, why did you stay at SkyWest for 22 years? And I always had to tell them because I wanted to be with my kids. Like I want a family life and I want this career. And that's probably the hardest thing I have realized with this dream is that, you know, it was very difficult to do both. But if you have a village, that is what saved me. I have a village. My mom lives close by, and I have lots of family, aunts, uncles, cousins. They all help. My sisters, we all help each other, and it's the only way that you could do it in this job. Like, in my opinion, because that's the only, like I don't know how else I would do it. And I stopped at 2 kids because I realized if I kept having more, that nobody was going to help me. So, that's what I was doing. But I kind of got ahead of myself there. I did. So actually I didn't. That's my education was at Embry Riddle. And then I gained experience by flight instructing. Forgot to talk about that a little bit. And that picture is actually of my daughter on her first Discovery flight. She hasn't decided for sure if she wants to do it or not because of, you know, she's like, it's a lot of money. I don't want you to spend all the money if I'm not 100% sure. But her name is Amelia, after Amelia Earhart. And then that other picture is me on a CRJ with one of my favorite crews. And so I just want to show a little bit of that. And then finally, I landed a job at a major airline. My whole career was just about timing. I seemed to be in the right place at the right time. First, the guy dropped my resume for me at SkyWest, and then one of my friends was at Alaska, and she knew that I would fit in there. And she knew I was trying to find something because right before COVID came, I was actually trying to go somewhere. I knew that I needed to be somewhere else. It was getting a little stale and mundane doing the same flights over and over. And so she's like, you need to apply here. You need to apply. I was so behind. Even my logbook was like 2 years behind. So I had to one day I sat down, I did my whole logbook. I made a resume. I'm like, okay, here goes. So I sent it to her. She dropped my resume into the chief pilot's email at San Francisco for Alaska, who also is another great female, Kat Pullis. She's up in Seattle now. But she gave it to her. Within 2 days, she wanted to meet me to have a meet and greet with the chief pilot. And to me, I didn't think, I'm like, oh, I just had one job for so long. I did fly different airplanes. I'm like, oh, and she's like, this resume is amazing. And I was like, oh, okay, like not, I could have done more, but I was happy. So I did a meet and greet with her and she gave me the opportunity for an interview. And, I think about 3 weeks later, I interviewed with Alaska. I again did an interview prep. I highly recommend interview preps if you're going to a major because it is so helpful. There are some questions that they ask and you sometimes just don't know how to answer. And these people groom you and help you. It doesn't sound, prepared, but it's like they say, think about this, make sure you're positive, all the things that you need to know, how to dress, how to look, everything. So I went to the interview and I got the job. And I've been at Alaska for 2 years. I've flown to some interesting places. I've been to Belize and Costa Rica, all over Mexico and Hawaii, which I never thought would happen. The first time I flew to Hawaii, it was like, I made it. I'm like, now what? What's next? I don't know what to do next. Like I got to fly and land in Hawaii. Like that was the goal. And I am currently a first officer. I'm going to stay that way until my son graduates because again, that's family is very important to me. And but I will upgrade at some point. I'm have like 15 more years or 17 more years left to go before I'm forced to retire, but I don't even know if I'll go that long. If I have enough money, I might quit before that. But I really love this job, but I really love being home too. That's been the biggest pull for me. But some of the pictures here, that was my check ride in the 737 and my OE, my operating experience, which you have to do every time you go to a new airline. The instructor took that picture of me hanging out the window. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I got to take my husband to Hawaii, which was like, that's been another dream. Like taking my family on my plane has been so fun. On the bottom corner is my daughter came with me, and also my mom and my sister and my niece were on that flight. I actually took them to Boston, and then when they got to Boston, they went on to the Azores where my parents are from. So that was really cool to take them. That was last summer. And then I am a sky watcher. I love sunsets, sunrises, all of it. So I just take a million pictures. I probably could have filled this board with 100 pictures, but that's all. Let me see, let me check my notes to make sure I got everything. I think I got it all. So that's where I'm at right now. Just living the dream. You know, I I get a pretty decent schedule for only being here for 2 years. San Francisco is a pretty junior base. And so we get to pick pretty good. I have a lot of weekends off. Actually, I'm surprised for June. I needed a lot of time off. I got it all. So it's been working really well. And I'm going to stay here and upgrade and, just as long as they'll have me.
Right. Thanks, Joanie. That is awesome. Such a cool career. I really like listening to your story because I'm, following a similar path myself, and I especially appreciate, uh, you know, kind of being validated for the approach of taking your time in this career to balance family and
Yeah.
work, because I think I found that to be a huge challenge
Yeah.
in my own experience.
You
So
get a lot of questions about it. And you're like, this is how I want to do it. I appreciate my family. Some people don't.
yeah, very good. All right. Well, does anybody have any questions for Joanie before we wrap things up tonight? Okay, yes, Wendy, if you can unmute, you can find the button.
Okay,
There we go.
Jody, can you hear me okay? Because I've got one
Yeah.
earbud in and Alejandro has the other one.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I also went to Prescott Aeronautical Science. I was there before you, and so I already feel a sisterhood, and I know that other people are going to watch this video, so I can't make it all about me. But my company is based at Reed Hillview, so I am near Livermore all the time. If you ever
Yeah.
want to have a drink or something,
Okay.
and we can be friends.
Okay.
So if I was asking for the general audience, is what you think the differences were between a regional and a major as far as maybe culture, lifestyle, quality of life?
It's a huge difference. I did not think it would be this different, but it's much better for me. Like we were just talking about hotels, Lily and I were before you got on, and the hotels that they put us at a major versus what they were putting us at a regional are so much better.
Wow.
SkyWest doesn't have a union, but Alaska does, and that's been a huge difference. I feel like I have more of a backing with the union, and things go through them before they get, anything
You.
management says, it goes through them to get to us, and we have to vote on it. Like we're getting new uniforms, and that's been process been taking 2 years because everybody has to agree.
Mm.
So it's things like that. And I love my time at SkyWest. I never want to bag on them, but sometimes I felt like I didn't have that backing, especially when I was having my kids. And, having kids and trying to do this job, and like when they're sick and you're trying to stay home and take care of them, and, you get in trouble because you call in too much or something like that. That's where I felt they needed more backing. And I know since I left or after my kids got older, they got a like, what was it, a women's chapter or something, a plant, what's it called, Lily? I forget.
I think they have something like a family assistance council or something
Yeah.
like that. There are resources available.
Yeah. And they have a lot more guides on what to do when you are pregnant, how to, get the disability, all that things. And that came later for me since my kids are older, but I do appreciate that they are looking into it more. But that part, what else is, it's just different, further flights, you know, better overnights,
Oh,
more major cities. I mean, there still are some some places that I went to at SkyWest we go to with Alaska.
right.
Places
Santa
we never-
Rosa, things like that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but Redmond, Oregon, some places I never wanted to see again. Like Bend is nice. I don't want to see the airport at Redmond.
Right.
Anyway.
Did you find that you enjoyed more of the, once you got to Alaska, you know, less short flights and more?
Yeah, so that was
Tours?
another thing. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy that because I'm very much like go to work, get it done, get home kind of person. But really, once I got used to the long flights, I enjoy it. Like it's like one takeoff, one landing. You know, you get paid when you go cross country like 5-6 hours each way.
Yeah.
So that's been really nice for me. But and I was surprised. I surprised myself on that one.
Yeah, I thought I would like the short trips, and now I've been thinking more about how appealing the long trips might be
Yeah.
when you get to Alaska and go
Yeah.
across the country.
Yeah.
You both are at SkyWest, and again, this will be my personal question. Any advice you have for me for the training? Because I know it's a tsunami.
I worked in the training department there for a while, so I'd be happy to talk to you, you know, one-on-one outside real exchange numbers.
That would be nice, Lily. Thank you.
I just say be prepared. Like study your flows. Go in there prepared. The people that go in there unprepared, they always have the hardest time. Chair fly, chair fly, chair fly. That's for every level. Any level,
Right.
private pilot, instrument, commercial, all of it. So
So, Joni, do you think this is be your last stop? You'll stay at Alaska?
yeah, as long as they'll have me. I like
That's
it here.
wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm from Seattle, so this has always been my dream airline
yeah.
is Alaska Airlines. My
Yeah.
favorite.
And you know what I really love is that we have a lot of women in higher places. Like my chief pilot right now is a female. We have in Seattle a female chief pilot. The base fleet chief is a female. Like
Joanie, thank you so much for
welcome.
investing your time and your energy and helping us out with this. Just I loved hearing about your career. And I
thank
hope
you.
that the other people who get a chance to watch get something out of it too. So
It's always
thank
so
you.
great to see lady pilots giving back. So thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm actually a mentor for my union too, to help new pilots that come into Alaska. I help them go through the process of the union and everything. So
Awesome.
That's
I
awesome.
like to give back. So I was very happy to do this for Lily. For all of you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Wendy and Alejandro.
Wendy,
Yes.
Well, thank you, Joanie. And for anybody watching the video, you can get more information about women in aviation and the San Diego chapter by going to waisandiego.org. And you can see all the resources we have available and the other events that we have going on throughout the year. So, all right, thanks. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.